I'm cross-eyed, I'm cross-eyed, I'm cross-eyed, I'm cross-eyed. What, why? Wow, that's some big hair there, girls. All right, boys and girls, as you can tell by the title, today I thought I would show you step by step what I do for brides, bridal parties, bridesmaids, you know, basically how I do makeup on clients for my job. This is kind of just the basic outline of what I do for everybody. It obviously will vary from person to person though, you know, skin tone, skin type, the person's age, the person's preferences. It's not like a one size fits all, but this is just the basic application that I do. 2019 is my 10th year, I think, doing makeup on bridal parties. However, I didn't start using airbrush, which is what I'm going to show you today, until like 2012 or so. Not everybody opts for airbrush. Some people want like a slightly cheaper option and they go with regular foundation, but today I'm focusing on airbrush because that's really what I recommend if you're a bride or just for any like special event where you need your makeup to last all day. So if you have any interest in learning this, stick around, you're in the right place. My skin is already prepped. Really, I just moisturize. I'm just gonna go straight into the eyes. I pretty much always do the eyes first at this point, mainly because the palette that I normally use has a lot of fallout and I just, too many years of, you know, doing someone's foundation and concealer and all of that, and then having the eyeshadow fall out everywhere, having to redo it, and it's 100 times harder to redo things like that when you use airbrush makeup. I just do the eyes first now, and I'm priming the eyelid with the LA Girl concealer. This stuff is amazing. This is in the color Porcelain. So for the eye look, I'm gonna do like my most requested bridal look. Like I said, it varies from person to person, skin tone to skin tone, but pretty much every bride, I would say 90% of them, ask for the same thing. And the main reason I am still using this palette, even though it falls out everywhere, is because I know this palette very well. It's kind of just habit at this point, but I am on the hunt for something that won't like crumble onto the face as much, but has all these colors still. Does that exist? So I have a Sigma E39 here. Wow, this looks so good, you guys. I'm gonna start out with this guy. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's maybe called MFEO. I don't remember. I know I just told you I know this palette really well, but I guess I don't. I know the colors, I just don't know the names of them. Did I even say what palette this is? This is the original Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. So we're going for just like a basic smoky but natural eye look. Like I said, it's what 98% of brides ask for. They want a little glam, they want a little shimmer, they want to look done up, but they don't want it crazy smoky, but they don't want it too natural to where it looks like they're not really wearing anything. All right, so we have our transition color, and then I'll usually take one of these dark browns over here, depending on like how light their skin tone is. I am pretty fair, so I'll probably mix like these two. Can you see that? Oh man, this brush is stained McGee. And honestly, this is a good bridesmaid look too, if you are, you know, gonna be in a wedding and you're thinking of doing your own makeup. I hope no makeup artists get mad at me for doing this. Hey, wow, that was really cute. By the way, this is a Sigma E25, and I'm just keeping the darker color on the outer third of the lid. And then as that brown is kind of worked off the brush, then I've been creeping it in. This is the point where I would take my MAC 242 brush, but I don't know where it is. So I'm gonna use this one from Sigma, and I'm gonna kind of just mix these two. One of them's called Obsessed, one of them is called SBN, which stands for Smoky But Natural. I don't know which is which, doesn't matter, it's in the past. And this is such a beautiful bridal color, and I always obviously take a little bit more time on the bride than I do the bridesmaids. Not because we don't love the bridesmaids, but you know, it's not their day. Oh, it's crumbling everywhere. I hate it. And then I'm just gonna top it off with my finger just to make sure it's really popping. And then I always go back in with that brown shade I used on the lid and just make sure we have a nice transition into the shimmer. You never want harsh lines on your bride. All right, so now for eyeliner. So depending on the bride's preference, I will either line her eye with a black shadow, like from this palette, or I'll take gel liner and thin it out a little bit with my Inglot Duraline. I will show you the difference in how they each look. So I'm gonna go in with the black shadow on this little Michaels brush. This brush is pretty frayed, but hopefully it'll still work. Black shadow, you know, can obviously double as eyeliner if the brush is small enough. And I really like how it looks. It gives like a soft kind of smoky look, smoke and a pancake. And I don't really wing it out, but I like make it thicker on the edge. I don't know what you could call this. Like I like flare it out kind of. Other option is a gel liner, and I personally prefer to thin out my gel liners just because I really can't do good eyeliner if I'm dragging the client's skin, and gel liner on its own to me is way too draggy and tuggy. However, I don't like the look of just liquid eyeliner, and I'm not really good at using it. So this is my own little formula. So I get some on my hand or on a mixing palette, and I just use a drop of the Duraline. Those of you who have seen me do this 1,000 times, you're probably annoyed by this by now, but there might be some noobs here, you know. And this is just like a little disposable eyeliner brush, and for this inner corner of the eye, I obviously can do my own without much of a problem, but when I'm doing someone else, I have them look down and over to the right, and I do this, and I kind of will touch my brush right there, and then I have them look down and over to the left for this eye, and I touch my brush right there. And again, I'm not really doing a wing, more of just a lift. Kind of hard to explain that because everybody's eye shape is so different. Never know what you're gonna get. So here's kind of like the two different looks. This eye, like I said, is a little bit softer. I'm gonna kind of try and make a match by adding gel to this eye and shadow to this eye. Oh, what's Miss Arnique doing? Hola, Miss Arnique. Okay, guys, you know what? It kind of became a wing, like a little one. I apologize. Okay, so then you take a disposable wand, dip it in your mascara. I've been into the Scott Barnes mascara lately. However, I don't have one of these for my kit. I think the one in my kit is MAC Giga Black. Whatever mascara you like that you know isn't going to run if the bride cries. Just something nice and waterproof, transfer proof, and something pretty black because we are gonna put falsies on, and you don't want like blonde eyelashes like standing out up against the false eyelashes. Okay, so if I were not doing airbrush foundation, I would go ahead and put the fake eyelashes on right now. However, I'm gonna hold off because when I spray the airbrush foundation, sometimes it can get on the eyelashes a little bit. So to kind of correct and conceal that, I put the falsies on after, just so everything stays nice and black. So I'm just gonna wipe off my fallout. Ugh, so much. Okay, so now I kind of just determine whether or not I need to apply moisturizer. I would say 80% of the time I do. And even if the client is already wearing moisturizer, I usually like re-moisturize the under eye area just because A, I used a makeup wipe on it, and B, it's just so important that the under eye area is moisturized when you're wearing heavy makeup. So I use Cetaphil. It's non-scented and hypoallergenic, so it works for most skin types, and it's very, very hydrating. Normally on a client, I would apply that with like my MAC 252 brush. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm not a huge under eye concealer person in my day-to-day life, but I do use concealer under the eye if I'm going to use airbrush as foundation. I'm very familiar with these LA Girl concealers. I kind of know what color to use on what person. I really like what the airbrush does to the finish of these, and I'm used to it, and it's a habit. So my two most common colors that I would say I use are porcelain and creamy beige, and then I have suede, which is beautiful on deep skin. Fawn is also beautiful. Toast, I have like every color I think in these. There's a really beautiful one that's almost white called, I think, Ferris. It's so good for obviously really fair people. For myself, I'm gonna mix porcelain and creamy beige. I do love a pretty bright like under eye look, but I try not to go too terribly bright just because it tends to freak people out. You know, we're all used to seeing it on social media, but people who don't like live in the makeup world, a lot of times they are wigged out if they're real bright under the eye. You gotta get all the way up under the lash line. This concealer is so great. It works on like every skin type, honestly. And then I also spot conceal before I airbrush, which is kind of backwards than what you're probably used to, but airbrush is so, I don't even know how to describe it. You can't like really conceal over top of it. So I prefer to use cream concealers for spot concealing that don't have like water in them. They're not as drying, and usually the coverage is insane. This one I have for myself is Cover Effects. Right now in my kit I have the MAC full coverage foundation that comes in a compact just like this. RCMA makes really good ones. Graftobian makes really good ones. I actually don't even think these are marketed as concealers. I think it's technically a foundation. Yeah, Total Cover Cream Foundation. There's no way I could put this like all over my face though. it's too like creamy. Man, my skin is rough today. I'm glad you're here, Cover FX. I've been breaking out a lot lately, and the only thing I know that I'm doing differently is the new Koki foundation, which if that's breaking me out, that makes me so sad because that foundation is amazing. And let's get the chin too. By the way, if you're doing this on a client, you just scrape a really minimal thin layer off the top of the spatula onto a mixing palette or onto like your sanitized hand and apply it with a sponge. I guess it's okay to use your finger as long as they're clean, but I don't know, sometimes it freaks people out. Okay, let me pause the camera while I like set up my airbrush. All right guys, now for the fun part. So this is my airbrush. As you can see, I use Dynair. It's the only airbrush I think I've ever used, and I'm using it out of habit, but I do not recommend this brand. I would go with Temp2 or Luminous or basically anything other than Dynair because they have the actual worst customer service I've ever experienced in my life. But my hand, after this many years, has like the muscle memory for this machine, and I know all the foundations really well, and that's the only reason I'm using it. All right, so I'll show you how I mix the foundation. Normally when I do this, the machine would be on, but I don't want to disturb you with the sound of the machine, so I'm gonna do it just while it's off. Here's what the little like bottles of foundation look like. My most commonly used shade is Vanilla, just a neutral, fair white girl color. For myself, I'm gonna mix a little bit of that, a couple drops of Honey Beige just to give me a little more warmth, and then another one of my favorites, Olive Beige. This is very olive, obviously. So I'm gonna do mostly vanilla. I'll probably do, I don't know, 5 drops of vanilla, probably 2 of Honey Beige and 1 of Olive Beige. I almost never just use like one flat color on everybody. You gotta shake these first, by the way. They're water-based and they separate really easily. Let's do 6 drops of vanilla. I lied. And try not to stress out when you're, you know, matching people's foundations. Ooh, are you not gonna come out? Are you gonna explode? I feel like you are. You can put a drop of this on like the back of your hand or a drop of this on and swipe it on someone's face and just see how it looks. Take your time if time allows, because foundation matching, while very important, is not as difficult as you might think it is. Don't be afraid to just see what works, and if you start spraying it and you're like, ooh, that looks too dark, or ooh, that looks too orange, it's okay. Add a couple more drops of a lighter color or a deeper color or whatever. So once my mixture is in the cup, you can see like the different colors in there. I will turn the machine on and hold and block the airflow right here, pull the lever back and back bubble it, and it mixes it all together. And I will show you what I mean. I'm gonna turn it on now. And then we're ready to go. So what I do is just tell my client to close your eyes and mouth, breathe normal, try not to make too much like facial expression, like, because if you make any like lines like crow's feet and stuff, the airbrush makeup won't get inside those creases, and then you'll be left looking like Raw Beauty Christie did that one time in that one video.
I look young.
I will be doing it on myself, so I obviously can't close my eyes, but I'm gonna kind of just look down as much as I can. And we're just looking for changes in the skin. You don't see a ton of makeup splattering onto the face. You just kind of gradually see the skin start to perfect. And you'll know when you're done, when there's basically no flaws left. If you have a blemish, hold the airbrush and kind of rock it back and forth and then spray around it. And then once the cup is empty, I just kind of blow air over the client to make sure everything sets. Oh man, I haven't airbrushed myself in so long, and I forgot how beautiful it is. I don't know what it's gonna look like on camera, but in person, it just looks like flawless skin. All right, now, technically, you don't have to set airbrush with powder. It like sets itself, but I still like to, just to fill in pores, and like if someone's really oily in their T-zone, I really don't think it hurts. I'm gonna use my Kryolan anti-shine powder and my sponge here. Knock off the excess. You have to use this powder very sparingly. We're just taking away shine and pores. I'm not going all the way up under the eye. I'm just kind of going right in this like problem area here and on the schnoz. And then for under the eye, I use a different powder. This powder is so special. I'm gonna use the Lancome Absolute powder under the eye in the color Absolute Peche. This works for most people that are close to my skin tone, but they do make other shades in this powder, you know, if you're deeper. And again, I'm gonna get most of the excess off, and I'm going right up under the eye. I'm not trying to drag this down because this does have luminosity and like shimmer to it. Most people don't want all that shimmer down here. Personally, I like it sometimes, but most people don't. We're really just doing this to catch any fallout from shadow when we go to do our under eye shadow. It really helps the shadow blend under there, and it's not drying at all, which makes it great for like the under eye area. All right, let me get the excess off here. To contour slash bronze, I'm gonna use the sculpting palette from Sigma. These are outstanding, and I think they're back in stock. I thought they were discontinued there for a minute, and I almost died. I'm gonna go with this center guy called Throw Shade. And I just do kind of like the typical bronzing pattern, you know, the sides of the forehead, across the hairline, you know, the cheekbone area. This is a Scott Barnes brush, by the way. And I kind of bring the bronzer onto the cheeks, like where I know I'm gonna put blush in a minute. All right, for blush, I really love this Blushing in Bali palette from BH Cosmetics. It is so beautiful. I'm gonna take the fairest shade on my, what are you, Sigma F10. Just give her a kiss and give her a kiss too. And I'm gonna add a little bit of that middle one. It's because blush, I feel like, is one of those things that kind of leaves the face throughout the day. And I feel like in an hour or so, it will be kind of toned down. For highlighter, I'm gonna take the Laura Mercier Matte Radiance Baked Powder in the color Highlight 01. It is such a beautiful highlighter for brides. And I'm just using a little fan brush here. And I'm not making the highlight too intense unless, of course, the bride asks me to. Some of them like, you know, a really intense glow, but most of them do not. It does look intense on camera, but in person it's just perfection. And I very lightly will bring that down the center of the nose, not a lot. And then I don't really do the chin or Cupid's bow because, like I said, people who don't live in the makeup world, they often think that that looks like sweat or that they look greasy. I also love this for the brow bone and like the inner corner. Oh boy, the bird's driving Nick nuts out there, but she was driving me nuts too, and it's his turn to birdie sit, you know? All right, we're gonna move back to the eyes. I'm gonna start with the under eyes. I have a Sigma E32, and this time for under the eye, I'm gonna go with this color. It looks really similar to the colors we used up here in the transition area. It may be just like a half a shade darker. And I just think it brings balance to the under eye because we are gonna put false lashes on. And we do have that Lancome powder under here, and it's kind of mixes with it and just creates this beautiful seamless under eye. It's important to not go too dramatic under the eye for a bridal look like this. A, because your client probably won't like it, but also because you want everything to look very soft and timeless, and you don't want, you know, her to walk down the aisle and, you know, the person she's marrying, you don't want to freak them out, you know. And then I'm gonna take this guy, this kind of dark, like reddish brown color, right along the lower lash line. I'm trying to like look up, but I don't have a mirror. Oh my gosh, there's so many crumbles on this palette that they're in my contacts. I feel them. I don't know why I like never noticed that before, or maybe I did and I just didn't care, you know? All right, we're in the home stretch here, guys. For eyelashes, I would say 99.9% of the time I use on everybody the Ardell Demi Wispies. They're a versatile lash. I kind of feel like they look different on everybody. They're very easy to apply to other people. They're not too dramatic to where it freaks people out. Again, the average person that you're gonna run into when you're doing weddings is probably not used to like huge dramatic lashes. Every now and again you will get somebody, but for the most part try and keep it soft and subdued. Now personally on me, I used to like love these, and I certainly don't dislike them, but I have noticed on me I feel like oftentimes they're not enough because my eyes are so big, my head is so big, like I need something a little more dramatic for myself. But these work so beautifully on basically everyone who doesn't have a watermelon size noggin. So I usually warn people, like, have you ever worn eyelashes before? And if they say no, I just tell them, you know, it feels weird when you first open your eye, almost like you can see it like in your line of vision, but your eye will adjust. And I always say, if you hate them, we'll pull them right off. No stress, no stress, no stress, no stress. Gosh, these are tiny to me. Like, I feel like I'm not even wearing fake eyelashes. I haven't worn these in a long time. And it's funny because some people will open their eye when you put these on them and they're like, I can't see. Wow. What I normally do is while the eyelash glue is drying, like while the client's eye is closed, I usually say, okay, now you're gonna feel me on your eyebrow, because if their eyes are closed and you start working on their eyebrows or touch them at all, they like jump usually. So in my kit, I have the Benefit 24-hour brow setter. I don't feel like digging for it, so I'm gonna use this one from Rimmel, the Wonderful Brow. Any brow gel that you have really will work. The Benefit one just like locks the brows in. And then after the brows are combed, I always fill them in with Anastasia Dipbrow pomade and an angled brush. On myself, I'm not really good with using pomade, so viewers beware. But on other people, I find it to be the easiest method because this stuff A, stays all day, and B, it's a cream, so you can mix different colors and make custom shades. Like my favorite combination for redheads is to mix blonde and auburn. On myself right now, I'm gonna use taupe. I probably should be using blonde, but I think I'm out. And eyebrows are such a personal thing. A couple years ago, it seemed like brides were always asking me for like bold, like Instagram brows, like with a harsh box in the front. Now it's kind of seeming to shift back to them really not wanting their brows done that much, like maybe just minimally filled in, which is fine. The most important thing to me is that the bride's eyebrows are groomed. I definitely suggest having some tweezers in your kit because it's insane how bad the makeup can look if the eyebrows are all crazy. And you know what? Maybe I ought to practice what I preach and tweeze these. Ow! All right, lower lash mascara. Oops, wait, I need a disposable wand. I forgot. And then sometimes I'll just like touch the mascara wand to the person's real lashes just in case there's any like leftover airbrush on them. You just want to make sure they're super black, you know? Whenever that dries, I will get it off my face, I promise. Okay, for lippies, the most beautiful and universal bridal color is the Palladio lip liner in the color Nearly Nude. Been using it for years. This is my personal one, but I have like 86 in my kit. It's basically just a Your Lips But Better color. It's like a rosy nude. It's very flattering and it stays all day. A lot of times a bride will have her own lip color that she wants to wear that day, which is great because then she can like touch it up throughout the day. But this is just an option if you're looking for one. Now for the actual like filling in of the lips, I'm really into Maybelline Baddest Beige as a bridal color. Again, this is just my personal one, but if you're gonna put this in your kit, you just need a lip brush or a scraper or something to scrape it off so that you don't apply the tube directly to the lips. It is such a good color. I know it's drugstore, but I've never had a bride like mind that I was using something cheap. All right, last but not least, I usually just kind of ask the bride what she thinks. Do you think this looks complete? I would say like 80% of the time they say yes, and the other 20% they want liner in their waterline. So you can take a black or a brown pencil. I like brown for wedding days, but black works too, depending on your bride's preference. And honestly, it's more sanitary for her to bring her own. You can sanitize eyeliners, but you waste a lot of product because you essentially have to scrape everything that you use on somebody off and then spray it with the like Beauty So Clean spray. So you can always tell her before that if she has like a pencil eyeliner she likes, to just bring it with her. That is just about it. I don't really use setting spray. I don't feel like airbrush foundation really ever needs it. And sometimes they don't really mix well with airbrush and they can make it like wipe off. Like there's a Too Faced one I tried once and this girl like itched her forehead and it wiped off. So I just kind of skip the setting spray usually unless someone is like insistent that they need it. Oh, look at that, it came right off. Alrighty friends, so this is the finished look. I honestly, like in person, feel really cute in this look. It's kind of reaffirming in my mind that this is a beautiful bridal look. Like I feel glam, but not overdone, not over the top. Like it's like a soft glam, you know what I mean? And also this hair, perfect for brides. Especially the fuzz. I don't even want to take a thumbnail because of this hair. So as per usual, let me know what questions you have. Not only about the makeup, but just, you know, anything to do with like working as a wedding vendor. Hopefully I'll have some good info for you if you need it. Everything will be linked in the description box down below, but just as a reminder, I really don't recommend Dine Air if you're thinking about getting an airbrush machine. It sucks, it clogs every 2 seconds, and the workers there don't want to help you. Even if you've been a loyal customer for like 86 years, they don't care. They don't even care if you tweet them. If I can remember, I'll try and link like other airbrush brands down below that you might have a better result with. Okay, love you guys. See you in the next video. Bye. Baby shark, baby shark. Come on, I'm a chippa, come on in. Ow, ow, ow. Baby shark, do. I'm cross-eyed. What, why? Hi, pretzel bun. Is it hard to be a pretzel bun or an oral?